All right, we are live. Welcome everybody to another edition of Deconversion Stories. Today I'm talking with One Ring 42 or One Ring 3 or however he's just calling himself Ring right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have links if you'd like below. There's a link to a playlist of his that talks about kind of his journey away from religion with some sort of heavier material. So it's not for the faint-hearted, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But basically, we're going to talk about everything that we can talk about tonight, about how you found your way out of religious belief and whatever made you decide to become the atheist activist that you are today. So I'll hand it over to you, man. Tell us or take me back to when you first sort of started realizing that this stuff was like nonsensical, and what led you on the path that you're on today.
Well, actually, we're going to go a bit further back than that, because this is one of those journeys where you've got to kind of see how deep the valley goes before you really appreciate the mountaintop. If that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
So, I grew up in a Pentecostal, household, specifically a Foursquare, and so up until say first grade or so, I don't really remember that, it being all too focused.
Preachy?
Yeah, all too preachy. But from second grade onwards, we went into a very I was pulled out of the public school I was going to because I had been bullied all throughout first grade really badly.
Wow. Right.
And we went to a private Christian school that ran the ACE curriculum. So we went to this.
Hold on. What's the ACE curriculum for those who may not know?
Okay. It stands for Accelerated Christian Education.
Okay.
It's very much based on the Bible kind of studies. You had these little workbooks called PACEs that you'd work through. And
I remember seeing those.
Yeah. Very much young earth. Like one of the few things I actually remember specifically from the, lessons was when it was covering taxonomy, it put humans under their own kingdom.
Really? Okay.
But so, so second through eighth grade, I was in, a church-run school that ran that curriculum, to where also every morning, every school morning, we'd not only would we pledge to the American flag, which most schools do, even the public schools, but we'd also pledge to the Christian flag and to the Bible.
Okay.
And so I spend 6 school years of my life being thoroughly indoctrinated in young earth creationism,
right,
and basically practically every day except for like Saturday and maybe Friday if I got my schoolwork done, because it was it worked like Monday. The school schedule was like Monday through Thursday, unless you fell behind on your schoolwork. Then you had to come in to catch up on Friday.
Sure.
So, you know, so Sunday through Thursday and possibly Friday, you know, spend at least a bit of time at church. And around the time I get, I reach my teenage years, I start having problems with my self-esteem, with my mental health. And this is more what I go into in the playlist that's linked below. And because I get Christian counseling with one of my pastors. I get exercise.
Christian counseling.
Yeah. I get it. It basically boiled down to, guided exorcisms.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Or gotta expel those demons.
Yeah. Spirit of self-doubt or spirit of self-hatred, etc. So we go, we finally reach, my 8th grade. And I have, like, my parents had this thing where it's like, okay, you could, once you hit 8th grade, you can either decide to keep going to the school because it was a 12th through, or, as a K-12 school. Or you can decide to go to a public school. Well, I chose to go to a public school because I was sick of the dress code. Yeah.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. Every day except for Wednesday, it was at least a polo shirt and slacks and, dress shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, it was button-up shirt with a tie because that was chapel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have been able to do that. Not in my rebellious youth.
Yeah. So I go, so I decide to go to a public school, but I'm still very heavily indoctrinated. I'm still going to youth group. I'm, and a lot of church functions, like I'm going to the retreats. I'm going to, when they're having youth camps or whatever. I'm like, I very much believe at this point, I'm very much believing that I'm getting visions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
wait, what were these visions?
Well, the one that specifically comes to mind is it was the summer of like 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Barack Obama taking the oath of office.
Okay.
And it was like June, like 2008 or, something like that. I get, there were times during worship when I'd like see like glowing, my eyes were closed at the time, but, see like glowing strands of light connecting everyone together. Yeah. And and there were a couple others, like there was one where like it was like while we were still trying to decide what public high school I'd be going to, because there are 3 in my town, and the way it's kind of laid out, there's a lot of overlapping districts.
Okay. Did you have friends in any of these public schools?
No, like I said, 2nd through 8th grade, I was at the Christian school. Okay. And I was very much introverted, very much the, kind of the kid in the corner with the book.
Okay.
I was very awkward growing up in that I wasn't very good at
Like
muscular.
socializing.
Well, more gangly, not very good at muscular coordination.
Gotcha.
Klutzy, not athletically gifted, and
Me too.
and all that you could really do at, all that was really available in regards to recess, is like, playing in the gym, there pick up soccer games, pick up basketball 21, a lot of athletic stuff. But that could very much well be, just the budget or lack thereof, because church run school. But so I saw or experienced a vision of me getting beaten up and, bullied heavily for going to one a specific school called Hellgate. But that's just because of its proximity to Hellgate Canyon,
right?
Which there are actually a few different interesting stories about how it got its name. Some one of the options is it's because of the way the wind kind of shrieks through the canyon. Okay. And then another possible explanation is that it was a site that the Blackfeet would use as an ambush site. Okay. But it's a local area, it's a local school, a local geographic feature that has some things named after it.
Okay.
But so yeah, or as Hissy put in the chat, Hellgate Chapel still amuses me. So, and that being said, before I had this vision, I had heard things about how the culture there, the student culture there was anti-Christian and wasn't very friendly to Christians. So, and in first grade, the school that I went to was Hellgate Elementary. So it could have very much been repressed memories or something like that. That, it's very much likely that it's a psychological thing going on. That was psychological instead of, God. But so we decided to go to Sentinel High School. And I'm like I said, I'm still very much heavily indoctrinated to the point where I purposefully flunk out. Well, not flunk out, but I purposefully fail/boycott the first month or so of world history because it covered human evolution.
Right.
That in my junior year, we had an English project where we wrote nonfiction books for kids. Mm-hmm. The topic I picked for mine was weird snakes. And I dedicated it to two people, Steve Irwin, which I'm not ashamed of. And then here's the regret. The second person I dedicated it to was Ken Ham.
Oh, jeez.
So
I'm sorry. Yeah. That just makes me laugh like huge.
Yeah. So I'm still very heavily into this, through my high school. I've gotten to the point where I was still going to the youth group, but more as a volunteer. I would run the projector for worship, and there were a couple nights where I actually gave talks.
Mm-hmm.
The only one that I actually remember off the top of my head was one where I used the story of Samson as an illustration of God's mercy.
Right. Okay. But they cut his hair off. What kind of mercy is that? Look
Well,
at me. I'd be like,
yeah. well, the thing is, I took the verse, for the Nazirite oath,
right,
and I went through the story of Samson, and I pointed out every time he broke his oath, and and then illustrated as like, okay, so God's giving him another chance until the cutting of the hair was the last straw.
Right.
But and so I go through high school, and eventually I joined the army.
Okay.
And once I joined the army, I kind of stopped going to church because, well, I still go to I still went to non-denominational services in basic because it gets you out of sitting in the barracks. But and at this point, I'm very much like convinced that one, a fundamentalist interpretation of the Bible is the right one, but also that science and the Bible can work together in harmony.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was an animal nerd as well, so of course I listened to all the Answers in Genesis stuff on the radio and all that kind of stuff, and so we get through. I eventually kind of stop. Once I hit AIT, I stopped really going to church because I prefer sleeping in. And we get and I meet Hissy online. We on a Doctor Who fan forum. Cool. And we over this course of time, we're just kind of chatting, and we become friends. And then we kind of start online dating. And so around this time, so I'm in Afghanistan on deployment.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow.
Yeah. And so, me and Hissy are online dating. And the thing is, when you're deployed for a year in the U.S. military, they let you, they gave you 2 weeks of R&R, and they let you choose anywhere in the world that, anywhere in the world that you want to go, and they'll fly you there.
Okay, cool.
So I choose to go to Yorkshire because that's where Hissy is, and we'd like to meet in person. And my sister, who's still very or sister one, we'll call her because I have two, is still very heavily into it.
Sure.
To the point where she took my niece, her daughter, to Ken Ham's Ark Encounter before the niece was even 3.
Okay.
So, anyways, she messages me on Facebook about how she heard that I was planning on visiting Hissy, and how she was concerned that I would be doing immoral things with her.
Hubba hubba.
and I'm like, it's not really any of your business. And and she, and like, talking about how we're yes, we've only been online, but we're getting in a pretty serious relationship. And she brings out, well, if you guys get married and have kids, will you be teaching your kids that being bisexual is okay? Now, Hissy is bisexual.
Okay.
So seeing how my sister responded, was responding to this relationship I had that actually helped me through quite a bit of trauma. What was kind of one straw, but I was still very kind of non-denominational. And very much had this belief that yes, the Bible was, true, and that science and the Bible could fit together. Like, for instance, one of the beliefs that I personally had was that like heaven was on a beam of light traveling through the universe, because
never heard that one before.
Well, I had kind of come to it after learning about general relativity.
Okay.
You know how the closer to light speed you go, the slower time is for you.
Right.
So if you hit light speed, time, essentially stops.
So it's almost eternal.
Yeah.
Eternal.
Yeah. And anyways, there's the young earth apologetic claim that there's no such thing, or that no transitional fossils have been found. I'm like, okay, well, if I see an indisputable transitional fossil, then I know that young earth creationism is, that I know that the Bible's bunk, essentially. And then I read about Tiktaalik.
Okay.
The fish that crawled up on land. And I'm like, that is a transitional fossil. And it kind of, everything just kind of fell away after that. But
there's many transitional fossils, by the way.
Well, yeah, but yeah, Tiktaalik, reading about Tiktaalik was the one that did it for me. And also like the final nail in the coffin was watching the Ham Nye debate.
Oh yeah.
And yeah.
Running out of energy or something?
No, just needed to
lubrication.
Yeah.
Vocal lubrication.
Yep. And the thing is, like, so yeah, I did go to a Christian school, but my grandpa also owned a Christian bookstore.
Oh.
So I was very much, and we, and I did grow up in one of those sheltered Christian homes,
right,
where, you weren't allowed to watch Harry Potter. Yeah. Like Harry Potter, the Gargoyle show.
Oh yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, so Harry Potter, Gargoyles, Pokemon, Power Rangers.
What about you?
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh. But even my mom wasn't even was even uncomfortable with Mary Poppins.
Really?
Yeah, Mary Poppins was too witchcrafty for my mom.
Oh, wow.
But somehow I was still allowed to watch Aladdin.
Yeah, yeah. The whole concept of a djinn.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And yeah, and especially after I got out, and like the more I started learning about like Arabic folklore and such, I'm like, why the fuck was I allowed to watch Aladdin growing up?
That's
The like
good
the best answer I can come up with off the top of my head is that my mom was a fan of Robin Williams.
That's possible. Yeah.
Yeah. But so, and after my the Christmas after my sister took her niece to the Ark Encounter,
I still want to go there. I want to just pass off.
I gave that niece a Darwin plushie from the British Museum of Natural History.
How'd that go over? That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like if we actually saved a copy of the video, because I was in the UK at the time, but of the video of her opening it, and but you can hear the dad's, it's like, oh, Darwin and a tortoise from the Galapagos.
That's awesome. Did they have a burning ritual after? Or?
I don't know.
Oh, are you reading the chat?
Yeah.
There's usually something funny in there, especially with doorknob head.
Oh yeah. But
Ant. Hello, Atheist Ant. Oh, and Dinobar full. Cool. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. So yeah, because my grandpa owned a Christian bookstore, we basically a lot of our videos and DVDs were like Veggie Tales stuff, the stuff that was put out by Focus on the Family.
Yep.
So actually, it was more a lot of videos because we were very late adopters when it came to the DVD, and that was just mostly economics. We didn't really get any a DVD player until they were already really, really cheap to get. So for instance, but I'd work as a cashier in my grandpa's bookstore, and I could either choose to get a book or something, or I get paid $20. This would be a few hours on a Saturday, or just after school kind of stuff. So I was very much steeped in the stuff that for instance, Focus on the Family, Tyndale House Publishing, Zondervan, all the stuff that they were putting out, specifically stuff directed at children, or even stuff that wasn't directed at children, because I can pretty much say, as far as I know, I've read every single chick tract that's been published, because my grandpa used to carry would carry packs of chick tracts.
Wow.
And if there were if they weren't shrink wrapped, I'd be allowed, we'd be allowed to read through them. We just had to be read through any book that we wanted. We just had to be careful not to bend the spine.
Sure.
So yeah, I've I'd read like all the chick tracts, and a vast amount of what young adult Christian literature, because like by the time, because the store ended up like getting he ended up selling the store so he could retire in like 2008.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that's largely it for the most part.
Wow.
Yeah.
On the chick track thing, a buddy of mine, my friend that lived down the road from me, his parents used to bring in, what do you call them? Where they'd get like, not adopt them, but they'd have kids that would live with them.
Yeah. Foster kids.
That's it. That's the word I'm looking for. Foster kids. Yeah. And this one guy came in and he had a bunch of these chick tracks. And one of the ones that kind of stood out to me, because I was quite impressionable, I guess, as a kid. And I was still believing in stuff as a kid, right?
Yeah.
And he showed me this one and I started reading it, and it was all about the lining of the planets and how that was going to be the end times.
Oh.
And it was coming up.
Yeah.
And I took this chick track because he gave it to me, and I took it to school. And I was talking with my science teacher. This is in elementary school.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, it's scaring me. But I'm like, I go to my science teacher, and I'm like, what's this thing about lining of the planets? And I show him this, and he opens up, and he goes, this is absolute hogwash.
Yeah.
The planets can line up every day and nothing will happen. There's not going to be some great big gravitational mist pole thingy or anything like that. No earthquakes are going to happen. No volcanic eruptions. He's like, that's just ridiculous. And he's actually one of the first people that sort of started me on just not believing everything I see kind of thing. Right. So, but that one actually scared the crap out of me. I thought, well, that's it. We're dead. That's it. It's all over.
Or another kind of crazy belief that I had, and once again, this was largely one that had just kind of come to me. Me kind of me trying to gel everything I'd been taught. Was that that Adam and Eve might probably had psychic powers and that they lost in the fall. Well, see, I grew up Pentecostal.
Yep.
So, there are things that, that are said that you can do when you're channeling the power of the Holy Spirit. Things like healing, the speaking in tongues, prophesying, and I'm like, supposedly, before the fall, Adam and Eve were the only perfect people. They were what humanity was supposed to be in commune with God. So, ergo, so my brain is like, okay, they had to have had some sort of, abilities that we can't do, because they were the perfect they were the perfect examples of perfect humanity.
What kind of abilities? Are we talking like X-Men shit, like psychokinesis, or?
I was thinking like,
because I want Wolverine claws.
Well, I would, like I said, psychic powers. So probably like telepathy or something like that.
Sure.
I was actually at one point kind of planning out like an alternate history sort of, like an alternate history, like fantasy type novel where Adam and Eve didn't fall. So you have these perfect humans who essentially become something akin to Tolkien's elves. And then you have one of Adam's descendants fall because someone was bound to eat that tree. Someone was bound to eat that fruit.
It looks pretty tempting.
Yeah. And so and then you'd have this split, and you'd have like, and then there'd be like another split for like the flood, and there'd be like the super fallen people who somehow survived the flood were like
Good
that.
swimmers.
Yeah, we're like essentially like orcs.
It works, yeah.
and we had like the kind of fallen people as like normal humans, and then we have like these elves that yeah, these elves that like essentially, because the world got flooded, and like I basically had the like in this idea, I had the Garden of Eden essentially be like Atlantis. So like, yeah, it but so like I said, that was very much like a alternate history fantasy novel sort of thing that never really panned out.
You should still try and do that. That's actually pretty interesting.
So I will say, because I was heavy, there was a lot of heavy control of media growing up.
Mm-hmm.
When it wasn't, blatantly Christian, you very much had to like I got very good at like justifying why I would be allowed to watch watch something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, I'd come up with an explanation of how Pirates of the Caribbean, the Curse of the Black Pearl, is actually a Christian allegory.
Oh my goodness. How did you explain this one?
Yeah. So you've seen Curse of the Black Pearl, correct?
Yeah, I've seen all of them.
Okay. So
I am a pirate too.
Yeah.
At least the kids at Disney thought I was.
So anyways, the pirates in Curse of the Black Pearl are cursed to, live in, essentially a living death.
Yep.
And they're seeking to break this curse. This curse of living death, like the fall, perhaps. And the way, the only way they can break their curse is to lay down their cursed riches and trust in the blood sacrifice of Will Turner, who is the Christ figure, because he's the descendant of the only, he's the descendant of the one that didn't atone. But they're looking for William Turner, who is a sort of Christ figure, so he can do this blood sacrifice and save them from their living death of sin.
Brother.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good take. I mean, if it got you the ability to watch the movie, then hey.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah, though to be fair, I think I had already seen it at that time. But like my brain is like very good at like it's very like hyperactive when it comes to like finding patterns and things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
you have pronounced pareidolia? Is that what?
Yeah.
So, what is your relationship with your family now? Like now that you're obviously an out atheist, how do they feel about this?
I'm not sure how it is with my me and sister one. Me and my brother are still very close. Though he's largely kind of in the same boat as I am. Me and my dad are fairly close. We just kind of don't talk about religion.
Okay.
I I watch atheist YouTubers, but I usually do it when he's not around. You know,
Sure.
Just kind of avoiding awkward conversations mostly.
Yeah.
Sister 2, practically adores me.
That's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah. Like we're door not head. There's only 2, but I didn't want to use names, so just Sister 1 and Sister 2.
Yeah, there's no doxing here.
Yeah, and actually, because of my brother and Sister 2, I hadn't really actually seen any R-rated movies.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a 7-year gap between me and my brother. So by the time I was old enough to watch R-rated movies, they were old enough to where we couldn't just put them down for a nap.
Well, there's chloroform.
But me and my mom are once also fairly close.
Aww.
As but it's mostly just kind of distance,
right?
We keep up on Facebook every so often. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the whole stunt with the Darwin plush didn't get me any brownie points with Sister 1 and her husband.
I imagine not.
Yeah. But I mean, they took her to the Ark Encounter before she was before she could even really talk. Well, I mean, she was like 2 or something at the time, but still.
Do you know if she still has it, or did they take it from her and kind of hide it?
I don't know. We're not really like me and Sister 1 aren't really on speaking terms very much.
Oh, that's one of the things about this whole thing that kind of really distresses me, is how a belief system can tear families apart.
Yeah.
And I think that's really shitty.
But on the upside, her husband is a lot more chill about it, from what I could tell. So hopefully it won't get, it won't be so bad.
Right.
Like, and that's kind of the way that we were growing up, because there was a lot of stuff that was on the banned list, but there was stuff that my mom didn't like, but we were still okay to watch because, my dad, stepped in. Where, I think Star Wars might have been on the banned list if he hadn't. It's like, yeah, I've seen Star Wars, it's fine. Or, he was a he was a classic rock DJ, so we were actually allowed to, we actually listened to quite a bit of classic rock growing up. Yeah, awesome. It's like, on one hand, there were only 2 kind of genres of music playing at our house. There was classic rock, so anything up until Nirvana is about as late as we got.
Right.
And then Christian, contemporary Christian rock.
Michael W. Smith, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, Michael W. Smith, Audio Adrenaline, The Newsboys, EOC Supertones, Delirious, Audio. Oh, I already said Audio Adrenaline.
Yeah.
Casting Crowns. Actually, every summer we'd go to Creation Fest West at the Gorge Amphitheater.
Yeah.
and my parents would
I've been to the Gorge.
yeah, my parents would volunteer, and so we'd get free tickets. And actually, when me and sister one uh, got old enough, we would volunteer as well. So because so we'd have our own free tickets, because it didn't, they only covered up to a certain age for the parents' free tickets.
Mm.
So, and yeah, every summer for a while we'd go down to Creation Fest and listen to, it's like a week-long festival of Christian rock music.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But I mean, there's still some Christian music that I enjoy. I still like Larry Norman.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like the vendetta he has against NASA, but I aside from that,
Back in my day, it was always Striper and Bloodgood, and there was all these metal Christian bands. Right?
So that being said, like I'm still like I can still kind of get triggered by stuff that reminds me of my Pentecostal background. Like for instance, when me and Hissy were on our honeymoon, one of the first thing we did, like our hotel had a spa, so we got a massage, and I couldn't really quite enjoy the massage because the kind of soothing music they kind of pipe through the office very much reminded me of like altar call music.
Okay.
So so it's kind of triggered some slight PTSD sort of thing. I'm not really sure if it's really PTSD or it's just some slight anxiety. Or like when I see content that's too overtly Pentecostal, that directly addresses like faith healers and such, sometimes I think praying in tongues, like just on reflex.
Interesting.
Or how like that kind of genre of TV show that's like the urban monster hunter genre. Shows like Constantine or Supernatural. And how every one of those has at least like one faith healer episode. Yeah, that'll kind of trigger it too.
I'm actually kind of glad that they kept the guy that played Constantine in the show.
Oh yeah,
for Legends.
It's the same yeah. Yeah, he does a brilliant job.
Oh, he absolutely does. Because I collected the comic books back in the day.
Yeah, I was only tangentially aware of Constantine because the Hellraiser comics definitely were on the no list.
Well, Hellblazer, actually.
Hellraiser. Hellblazer, sorry.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was aware of the character because he'd pop up in like certain like Justice League, and
yep.
He'd pop up in crossover comics.
Yep.
And or like for instance, there's no way I would have been allowed to watch Doctor Strange when it came out. Or if it had come out when I was growing up.
Right.
Or my one of my biggest regrets when it comes to the movie theater is so I had enough money to go, to pay to go see a movie. And I decided to go see Prince Caspian
Oh.
instead of seeing Iron Man.
Oh, jeez.
And the thing is, my brother went and saw Iron Man. It's like we went to the same theater. My brother went and saw Iron Man, and I went and saw Prince Caspian because I liked the Chronicles of Narnia series growing up. I still do like the less obviously allegorical ones.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are less in your face about this is Jesus.
Yeah.
The
movies weren't overly
religious,
but they were tolerable.
But Prince Caspian wasn't good at all though. The whole stupid like love triangle that they like awkwardly shoved in there, and the whole forced conflict between Peter and Caspian. Yeah, I very much regret seeing that film, that movie on the big screen.
Well, we all make mistakes.
Yes, and I've made my fair share.
Me too. That's for sure. Yeah. Now hold on. That was part of the Narnia Chronicles, was it not? The Prince Caspian one.
Yeah. So, yeah, the only 3 movies that were actually made because after Prince Caspian just totally tanked.
Yeah.
So they did Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. They were going in a published order, not chronological order.
Yes.
They first one, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, which actually really I haven't watched it recently, but I'm fairly certain it still holds up because that was fairly well done. Then there was Prince Caspian, where they kind of tried to turn it into a teen drama sort of thing in a magical fantasy kingdom, and it didn't really work. And then they did Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which was okay.
Actually, I liked that one.
Yeah, I did too. It's just that was one of my more favorite books, and it didn't quite meet my expectations.
I never read the book, but
oh yeah, it gets crazy. Like there are like one-legged gnomes that have like this giant foot that they like hop around on, and they can actually like use their foot as a kayak. Yeah, it's very like Voyage of the Dawn Treader is very much like your classic. This ship just goes and experiences all these weird islands. It's very much a Christian version of like Sinbad or or the Odyssey. Yeah.
Or even one of my favorites, my classic favorites, The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Oh, that's actually my favorite Terry Gilliam movie.
Yeah, it's one of mine too, for sure.
Yeah.
It was so brilliantly done.
Yeah. But for instance, the book that I like the least is probably The Last Battle. The one where Lewis straight up says that Susan isn't allowed into Narnia heaven because she got involved with makeup.
Uh-oh. That damn makeup.
Yeah.
Now she got to go to Narnia hell? Is that how that works?
No, she just wasn't, I don't know. Yeah. it doesn't, she's just not there.
Well, now that we've had a Narnia lesson.
Yeah.
I think we are closing in on the hour, so we're going to do an after. You're still cool with doing an after.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
But before we go, I do want to make a special notification. My very good friend, Purple Rhymes with Orange, is trying to raise up some money so that he can move to a much better location. that will be beneficial for both him and his friend, partner, roommate. I'm not even sure anymore. But there are links below. I put them in there special today with little asterisks and stuff. There are two ways you can help. You can go through PayPal, which is what I did myself, or you can go through the GoFundMe. And they're trying to raise enough money so they can get the hell out of the little shit town that they're in and into a better location. And it'll do a world of good if that happens. So if any of you can spare even a few bucks, and I currently, I think I threw about $25 at it, but and I'm going to probably do more once I've settled all my bills and whatnot. But it's definitely going to be a good cause. So if you can help out my friend Purple, that would be absolutely amazing. And I'll give you a shout out or something. Because I'm out of stickers right now. I have one sticker left, but I'm getting more printed. But I actually have two, but one of them's promised to not your witness. So anyways, but the link is down below in the description. And of course, my moderator extraordinaire, Inquisitive Quandary, is popping them into the chat as well. All right, so I think we should jump into an after party.
Okay.
And we'll bring it up again in the after party because there might be some different viewers. But dude, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's often hard to hear some of these harsher stories where family issues come up and stuff like that. But I think that these kinds of stories are definitely needed to be heard. Because there's people out there that they could help, right? So
and I will say in the playlist that is linked in the description, I do go more in detail about how my mental health was affected by my time in religion. But there is a standing trigger warning for
which I added there.
Yeah, I just want to, reiterate it as much as possible. But there's a trigger warning for mild self-harm and thoughts of suicide.
Okay. Yeah, I personally have never been to that level before. So, I mean, I empathize, but I don't know if I could. I don't know. I've never been there, so I don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
But I definitely, it pulls at my heartstrings when I hear people are going through that kind of thing. So, and I often try to do whatever I can to bring them out of it. Just a little bit of levity or something, just to crack a stupid dad joke or something, just to make them laugh.
Oh,
to get those chemicals.
Hissy helped kick me out of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, honestly, my mental health has hasn't been any better. It has never been. I've never been as mentally health, or after becoming an atheist, my mental health has been much better.
Okay, that's good. Another one for atheism.
Yep.
Well, you do kind of drop baggage when you do that.
Yeah.
Right. So, so for some it takes a little longer, but that fear of hell starts to disappear and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. So, guys, we are going to jump to an after party, and thank you all for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to have you guys hanging out with us and putting some funny comments in there that we can show off once in a while. Again, man, thanks again for joining me today. And if anyone would like to jump into the after party, I can be reached through the messages on either Twitter or Facebook. I don't usually go on Facebook all that much, but for stuff like this, I definitely check the messages in case people have sent me one there. All right. So that's the end of this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And once again, remember, if you can help my friend Purple out, definitely do so. The links are below. We are going to jump into an after party very shortly. I'm probably going to take a bit of a break to have a quick pee because I'm drinking a lot of beer. So, you don't drink, you don't buy beer, you rent. But until next time, guys, like I always say at the end of these things, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge.